Watch this.
It's full speed action at the Idaho State House as the legislative session winds down. Before they can leave, though, lawmakers need to pass things like budgets. One that's caught up: libraries. Why? We'll explain. Governor Little has been busy signing off on legislation that is now set to become law. We have insight on some major new topics. It's Treefort weekend, and boy, it's a perfect weekend. We trekked downtown for our favorite game, Treefort Trivia. Do the music fans pass our test? Happy Friday, folks. You made it through the week. Well, it was an unexpected debate yesterday afternoon at the State House. Lawmakers who, in years past, had easily passed the Idaho Commission for Libraries budget. As of yesterday, the proposed budget was just over $11.2 million for the year. But this year, House lawmakers were torn about signing off on the budget. Why? Because of another bill brought up earlier in the session, House Bill 666. And that's the bill that would criminalize librarians who allow children access to, quote, obscene material, specifically pornography. Now, that bill passed the Idaho House, but is currently sitting in a Senate committee and will likely not be getting a hearing this year. But it was that bill that some lawmakers pointed to for not wanting to pass the library's budget yesterday. And they didn't. The budget failed in a 33-36 vote. So that budget was sent back to the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, which met early this morning. And in a 12-7 vote, JFAC cut another $3.5 million of ARPA funds from that budget. Now, that money was earmarked for grants to be used for technology projects in public libraries across Idaho. That's in addition to the $307,000 they already took in state funding. Now, that money would have been used for ebooks and other digital media in public schools. Some lawmakers claim that materials in some ebooks that were accessible through school libraries, well, they were inappropriate for children, so they didn't want to see that there. Before that vote, though, the debate in the Budget Committee was mixed and passionate, as you'll see.
Given the environment of what's going on in the legislature and in the libraries with the amount of misinformation that's being spread via emails and the tendency to defend librarians before the first priority.
Mr. Chairman, I object. I object. This is not relative to the budget that is at hand.
I believe this is a library budget, and so talking about what is going on in libraries is absolutely germane to the subject. And
Mr. Chairman, we should not be attacking our librarians while we talk about this budget.
I've seen emails of librarians whose first inclination is to defend librarians.
Representative Nate, keep it to the budget. This is not budget.
Fair enough. If we want to get a budget that will pass both bodies, I think we need one that that keeps in perspective the environment of what we're doing here with the different issues swirling around.
It's Representative Ron Nate, and he went on to make another motion to cut the budget by another $1.5 million, but that move did fail. So the new budget is now up for debate in both the House and the Senate, and it must pass both those chambers before hitting to the governor's desk. If it fails in either house, it'll need to be sent back to JFAC for additional edits, and the whole thing starts over again. Late yesterday afternoon, we learned that Governor Brad Little vetoed his second bill of the year. This one, a budget, $16.9 million for the Office of Information Technology. And in his transmittal letter, Governor Little said that the intent language in one section is, quote, overly restrictive and hamstrings the state's ability to effectively respond to present and emerging threats. So it was sent back to the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee. Why? Well, because they needed to make a minor change to the budget. They removed $100 from a specific part of the budget, and then they also went on to remove the section of the bill that Governor Little had an issue with. And now has to be passed by both houses before it can be sent back to the governor's desk, where assumably he will sign that budget for the year. And Governor Little has signed several bills into law this week. We've talked about a lot of them, but it does include one that prohibits Idaho officials from revealing where the state of Idaho gets its execution drugs to be used for lethal injections. Now, that bill includes a clause that prohibits the release of information even if a court orders them to do so. The supporters of the bill say it's the only way that the state will be able to get the necessary drugs. As suppliers, as a condition, they won't sell the drugs without guaranteed confidentiality. But those against that say that transparency is needed and that the bill reduces the public's trust in state execution processes. The last time the state of Idaho executed an inmate on death row was back in 2012. As of today, there are 8 inmates on Idaho's death row. Governor Little also signed a bill that will offer hazard pay to Idaho's wildland firefighters. It provides 25% on top of what they make hourly should they be put on the fire lines in a hazard. Now, right now, state wildland firefighters make at least $15 an hour. During debate at the State House, lawmakers said that the state loses about 40% of its force every 2 years because they can go make more money and hazard pay working for another state or for the federal government. And supporters say that offering hazard pay will give Idaho an out and it will put them on par with what the feds offer financially. Hundreds of bands, thousands of people. Treefort is back for its 10th year in downtown Boise. But do these concert goers really know who's playing this weekend? We're playing 2 bands in a line. Before we bid adieu for the weekend and head out to enjoy the first weekend of spring, we want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, pictures, thoughts. No complaints though today, right? Let's do that next week. But here's our number, 208-321-5614. Be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208. We'll share some of our favorites live on screen at the end of the show.
Fabulous weather that we're going to have. Treefort, of course, continues through the weekend, and tomorrow it's about 73 degrees. We have high clouds, as you notice out there now, and it's kind of kept the temperature down about 2 or 3 degrees from some of those forecast highs. And the likelihood is it's going to continue that way through the weekend, but still, we have a nice Saturday and we have a nice Sunday. And then this evening, if you're planning time outside, 73 at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock at 66. Okay, that's about sunset. Getting closer to 8 o'clock, and then into the evening, of course, the temperatures start to drop. In the 7-day forecast, you see the 73 for tomorrow, 70, could be about 74 to 76 on Sunday. There's a chance of a shower on Monday, and I'll detail that here in just a second. But over the next several days, that's going to drop the temperature on Monday into the mid-60s, maybe even a little more as we get toward the end of the week. Now, in the way of this storm system, it's not turning out to be much. A lot of it is forming. Likelihood is going to move to our south. We'll get a little energy or storm out of it, which provides just the northern tip of it. And some of the mountains, because it's so warm, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of accumulation of snow. There could be about 0.10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of rain, which would translate to more, but these warmer temperatures are working against it. And as you can see, Boise, not much in the way of showers, in the way of rain showers, but we probably have an opportunity at about 0.02 of an inch. maybe 3/100 of an inch as we go into Monday. So just to show you what's going to be taking place in these temperatures over the next 10 days, these are the nighttime lows. And you'll notice they're going to be pretty mild, but I just want to point out more toward the end of the week. I've seen even as low as 33, 34 here for Thursday morning, but they will go back up. But we got a couple of nights where those temperatures are going to drop.
We are in the midst of a highly anticipated weekend, the return of Treefort. Of course, Treefort had a special edition this past fall to make up for the COVID cancellation, but this week marks the return of the traditional spring format of Treefort, and just in time for Treefort 10. We have a great weekend of weather, as Rick just mentioned. We're going to hit 76 maybe this weekend, but anyways, we brought back our favorite, Treefort Trivia. You might have seen this before. We tested music fans out at Treefort, giving them 3 band names. 2 of them are real, playing this weekend. 1 of them I made up on the spot. Could they find our flaw? It's 2 truths and a lie, Treefort edition. Hey, you guys Treefort fans?
Yes.
We're doing a trivia game. You guys want to play? So I'm going to give you 3 band names. You can
Okay.
see if you can tell me which one the fake band is. All right, so your 3 bands: Deerhoof, Nation of Language, Bird Person.
Nation. The last one is the fake one, for sure.
Bird Person. Final answer?
Yes.
Bird Person is a cartoon character. He is not a band. We got Meat Cube, Freddie Farkle's Friendly Friends, and Walk the Doctor.
I think Walk the Doctor is not a band name.
That's a band name.
It is a band name?
Freddie Farkle's Friendly Friends.
I could have swore I saw that on the something like an alliteration like that.
That's close. Jetpack Parrot, The Districts, and Quasi.
Shoot. Jetpack Parrot sounds a little far-fetched.
He's got it. That's the fake one. That's the fake one. That was too easy, I guess, for you.
I mean, parrots, jetpacks, you know.
The Fruit Bats, we got Witch, and we got Inverse Ice Cream.
Inverse ice cream.
Final answer?
Final answer. Yes.
Man, they're too good. We were better at this last Treefort. We tricked everyone, but you guys got it. Sundog, Birds in Flight, and Pink Boa. Which one's a fake band?
Sundog.
Birds in Flight is fake. I saw some birds fly around over. That's what I saw. Chickens, Glove, and Dummy. What do you think the real band names are? What do you think the fake band name is?
I'm gonna say Glove is the fake one, and Chickens and Dummy are the real one.
Glove is a real band, and they will be playing this weekend. Dante Elefante, High Tech Color, and Saint Terrible.
Saint Terrible. Saint
I know
Terrible's
Dante
real.
Elefante is real.
I think the first one's real.
Saint Terrible's real. I want to see
Saint
that.
Terrible?
Yes.
So
That's
the
the first
second
one.
one.
Yeah, it's
High
the
Tech Color. You guys got it. That's just the name of this business, I think. Yeah. Green Van, Bombshell Nightlight, and the Spliffs.
I think the Spliffs are the fake one.
Hold on. We have to confer.
I don't know. The other one sounds so cool. But I definitely don't know.
I don't have
any of
enough
this
data
one.
to go on. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna guess the Spliffs. Yeah.
Fake band is Green Van. I saw a green van behind you. I thought that'd be a good fake name. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, have fun. Yeah. All right. And shout out to Thorn, who is playing tomorrow afternoon at the Linen. The last couple you just saw, their parents in town to support their kid who plays in that band. So Thorn tomorrow. Also, just as a note, it is harder to make up fake names than the names at Treefort, if you were wondering. I had a hard time doing that on the spot. Treefort, though, is going on through the weekend at dozens of locations. And if you're not a music fan, don't worry. You can check out some of the other forts happening, like Story Fort. Ale Fort is very popular. Hack Fort, you learn about computers there, a lot of stuff. As Rick mentioned, the weather is going to be absolutely stunning all weekend long, so no excuses. Bring your water bottles. If you don't have your tickets yet, no worries. You can still snag them before they're sold out. There's day of passes. And for all the information you need to know, you can check out our Treefort event guide right now at ktvb.com. It was a viewer favorite this week, so we're calling it back. This iconic spot was in use for 101 years and kept more than 13,000 criminals in check. The story of how it all started with 11 men locked up in Idaho's Territorial prison. If you haven't already, lock this number into your phone right now. 208-321-5614. That's our phone number, and you can text us anytime, or feel free to leave us a voicemail. You know we love those. But be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208. We may use your text at the end of this show or your voicemail in a future edition of the 208. It's Friday, which means we like to bring back our favorite segments from the week. And on Monday, we officially entered the spring season, and inspiring quotes of "Hope springs eternal," and "Spring is the time of plans and projects." It helped get us into the spirit of the season. But I'm not sure that the promise of hope really hit home when spring hit in 1872, at least not for the occupants of Idaho's Territorial prison. March 21st, 1872 was the first full day of spring, and that day, 11 men were being moved out of their shaky wooden structure in Idaho City to a bigger, more secure Territorial prison. And on Monday, it turned 150 years old.
For decades,
it's dark history.
The old Idaho Penitentiary has drawn the interest of those attracted to atrociousness.
And true crime, of course, that is a huge thing that people are into.
And there aren't too many places that were built back then that are still around.
Exactly, yeah.
Anthony Perry's job is to teach people about this place.
And try to humanize it.
Which takes us back to the beginning. The Idaho Territory was barely into its adolescence, the population around 15,000 and climbing. More people meant more opportunity for crime, and more space needed for those convicted of said crimes.
The original Territorial prison was in Idaho City, and in 1869 they decided to bring it here to this location.
This location happened to be a stone's throw from a sufficient supply of sandstone.
So they thought, we've got building material. They started construction, actually broke ground in April of 1870.
And they invited the public to be present, apparently. According to a notice in the Idaho Statesman, then considered a radical paper, a general attendance is requested in order that all may view the commencement of an edifice that may someday be their home, where the moral atmosphere inside the walls is a far higher tone than that of the rest of the territory. Anyway, construction commenced by local workmen.
who were paid about $4 to $6 a day to construct that territorial prison.
And the cornerstone was laid, ironically, on Independence Day, 1870.
And in March of 1872, the first 11, arrived here from Idaho City, from the Boise County Jail.
Those men:
murder, grand larceny, so the violent federal crimes that were being committed in the territory of Idaho,
were all housed in this one building.
There were 14 cells per tier, and they faced opposite directions, so 7 here, 7 there, 3 tiers. In the 1880s, that doubled.
That decade saw the first woman inmate as well as its youngest.
The youngest was actually a 10-year-old. His name was James Oscar Baker.
He was convicted of killing E.T. Williams in Soda Springs. Those early days also saw the security get tested.
So within the first month of the territorial prison opening up, so in April of 1872, we had our very first escape. This guy named Al Priest, he was in on highway robbery on a 15-year sentence. He's outside kind of stacking rock.
Inside, another prisoner named Ahud is cleaning dishes.
And Al asked for a sip of water, and so he goes inside. He's got a ball and chain on, like all these men, because there's no fence, there's no wall, and so he goes inside and he finds a pair of keys. He unshackles his ankle, he climbs up and out a window and takes off. And Ahud sees this happen. He takes the key, unshackles himself, follows, and they both escape. They both make a run for it. Al Priest was reportedly tracked down several miles away and shot and killed by either a U.S. Marshal or by the rancher that he was stealing horses from. And they actually never capture Ahud. He disappears and is never seen or heard from again.
It took 5 years to get a 12-foot fence, another 3 years for a new cell house, and by 1894, they had completed the wall and the administration building.
And that doubled the capacity, but quickly realized that they needed more. And so by the end of that decade, by 1899, they started construction on the cell house that we're actually in right now, and they completed this in 1911.
In 1942, that original single cell house had been converted to a chapel.
And it doesn't look that big to hold, 80 men in this structure. Yeah, in the 1880s, it's disheartening to think of that overpopulation and how tough life in here would have been.
By 1954, with the maximum security cell block built, the penitentiary was at capacity in both buildings and jailbirds.
After the 1950s, just over 600.
And those close quarters could lead to questionable conditions.
The conditions, they could be harsh.
And they could lead to riots.
Just wanting to make a statement so that people in the community would know what the conditions were like in here. But 1973, in March, there's a major riot, the final major riot at the institution, and several buildings are burned, including that chapel, the Territorial prison.
The prisoners intended to torch the dining hall, not the chapel, but the damage was done. By the end of the year, the old penitentiary was closed.
Early history,
Oh yeah, remember that cornerstone?
So they go around with metal detectors in each of these buildings, and finally it pings right here.
Well, it contained a time capsule, which wasn't discovered until 1970.
They said it was one of the best kept time capsules in early history of Boise, of Territorial Idaho. So it's an amazing discovery that they had, and it's a really an amazing part of our collection.
Almost as amazing as the collection of stories still housed here.
150 years that this institution has been around, and people can still come in and see this artifact and this part of our history.
Some great history there. I'm surprised that they let Brian out, though, when he visited. A couple of other numbers to share about the history of the old Idaho pen. There were more than 13,000 inmates housed there over the 101 years it was in use. There were more than 500 escape attempts during that time, 90 of which were successful, which is a pretty decent rate of return if you ask me. There were 10 executions performed at the old pen. All were hanged, but only one took place in the modern maximum security building built in the 1950s. The rest were done on a wooden scaffold in the yard. In 1974, the Idaho State Historical Society took over the Idaho State Pen and began offering tours of the place, a really neat place to check out in town. Quickly, before we get to your comments, I wanted to mention we saw a lot of questions. If you ever missed the 208, you can catch it on the KTVB YouTube channel almost immediately after the show. So for all those questions we got about that this week, always check out the KTVB YouTube page. Also, hello to my dad, Jeff Paris, watching tonight in Denver. Dad, I will call you after the show. Let's get to your comments, though. This person says, you told me when the last execution was, but you didn't say when the next one is. If it isn't anytime soon, why spend the time and resources creating another law? Long story short, Steve, there was an execution that was going to happen last year, got called off. Now it's in limbo. So long story short, state of Idaho always needs to be ready just in case that execution does get rescheduled and it gets approved. This person says, with the nice weather, it's time to pull the cover off the grill. Now do we cook steaks or chicken? Tough choice, Jim. So, Jim, I say steak, beef, it's what's for dinner. Also, what time is dinner? We'll be over there soon, right? All right. We'll see everybody Monday. Enjoy the nice weekend.